When you saw Luna, you were seeing a monster come to life. And if you saw her in a dark alley, you'd run away. What's the problem? You never seen a woman with a shaved head and veins on the side of her head before? Ugh, I have no idea how she did that for so many years. I'm Charles Renton with my review, Dark Side of the Ring, The Many Faces of Luna Vachon. A cautionary tale as far as being a great talent in the ring, but dealing with so many personal demons is just, this was really, really sad. And admittedly, I didn't know a bunch about Luna Vachon's earlier life and earlier career, and this was quite eye-opening. I always thought that Luna Vachon got a raw deal, ironically, in WWE because she deserved a whole lot more as far as her in-ring talent, what she could give to wrestling, the association that she had with the Vachon family, even if it was by adoption. You know, when you're with the Vachon family, even for, a certain amount of time, you're definitely going to take on some of the persona of the various crazy members of that family, and I'll get into that in a little bit. I do also want to say I am going to put the National Suicide Hotline in the description, and if you guys are dealing with anything where you feel like you need to reach out, please reach out and help. I did the same thing for the Double Life of Chris Canyon Dark Side, which was also really tragic, and to me this was equally tragic. Luna always felt like she didn't do enough for women's wrestling, when I would argue that Luna Vachon's influence is still felt to this very day. I didn't know much about her career until she got to WWE in 1993, and from there I tried to study up a little bit more, in the past few years. Luna really was innovative, and you could tell that she loved wrestling, and she wanted to do so much more, and she did a whole lot of great shit, and could have done so much better, especially in the Attitude Era. She fit into the Attitude Era. It was like a hand into a custom-made glove. She fit perfectly, and they marginalized her in so much stuff. And yes, she had her demons outside the ring, her personal issues, her drug abuse issues, as many wrestlers did, and it's a real shame that she felt all alone, and that's dived into during this Dark Side. There were some great talking heads here. They did open with, Luna's promos were certainly something else. I mean, again, I pretty much just shot my voice trying to do that right there. I don't know how she was able to do that for so many goddamn years. I mean, and you hear audio from her, I assume from shoot interviews of some variety. They never showed video, but she talks about the stuff that she did for wrestling and some stuff that she went through. And again, the talking heads did a really good job, fleshing out some of the details in as or at least as detailed as possible in a 44-minute episode. I think for the next season of Dark Side of the Ring, they ought to go 90 minutes if they can, because some of these stories, sometimes they skip over large chunks of their life, and sometimes maybe it's not, TV, maybe not TV friendly, I guess, but they feel it wouldn't, translate to good television, but then sometimes you can find out a little bit more about them. Anyway, Mick Foley was great here. One of the nicest people in wrestling. I've never met Mick Foley, but I've heard from all accounts he is one of the nicest people. And just, you could tell that Luna's death really affected him, and he really enjoyed reflecting on her life. And of course, her kid, Luna's son, Van Hurt, it was nice to hear from him. He says wrestling was always real to me, especially when you're a kid. There's nothing ordinary when you're a kid. Sorry, Green Apple Quickstep popped into my head, as one happens to have that occur when they've listened to a lot of 90s rock. Let's move on. UWF, WWE footage. She showed up at Show and Tell with a snake, because that just sounds exactly like something that Luna would do. David Heath, a.k.a. Gangrel. I'm going to call them by their working names since I don't know them personally, but I felt the need to say that right there. Gangrel. Talked about meeting Luna, and Luna saw him. He was the only one in the locker room. Fresh meat! Oh, god damn it. Jesus. Man, that really is. Luna was very, very creative with her promos, but my goodness, she really stood out. She was really trying to be like Mad Dog Vachon, in a sense, just turned up to goddamn 11 as far as the voice. She just needed to have a casket match in a pine box deep in the mines where it's cool and dark. Okay, I'm going to stop doing that. Because I'm not going to be able to get through this review. Her real name was Gertrude, which I guess kind of fits as to why she would want to go completely away from that. Her relationship to the Vachon, we talk about that in a little bit. All the Vachons were odd in a beautiful type of way, said Mick Foley. Need to get Mick Foley on more of these. if he has something to say about the story, because it's just really, really. He has so much love for wrestling and so much love for so many people. He was great in the China Vice documentary. Paul Vachon, Paul the Butcher Vachon, he obviously has numerous health issues. I'm not necessarily sure what they are. He was as measured as he could be, but he talked about it was a chance meeting. There was a gunshot at a motel after he had wrestled in Atlanta, Georgia, December 18th, 1966. And the woman came knocking on the door. Turned out it was the wife, now widow, of the motel owner. He ended up getting with her sometime later, and she had a daughter, Luna, and, well, Gertrude, and that ended up, so she was an adopted member of the Vachon family, but you never would have known that with how nuts she was in and out of the ring, and I mean that with every bit of respect possible, because she was just as, crazy of a kooky character as the Vachons were. And that really is a sad story about the motel owner. A week before Christmas, finding out that your real life father shot, even at 4 years old, that right there, unfortunately, was set, a tone for what would happen with Luna's career for her life, and then another series of events, which I'm going to warn you guys right now, there's going to be a few rants during this, and not about Luna, obviously. Sure. The self-medicating thing never works. You don't beat it, it beats you. Gino Hernandez, so many others that had such, massive substance abuse issues. Wrestlers have been taken, so many wrestlers have been taken by drugs. It's like it would take probably an hour-long video just to list the people that have. And I don't even think I'd be scratching the goddamn surface, because it's a tough life, tough business. Travel, some people handle it well, some people don't. But then, we hear audio from Luna, one of many interview pieces, and she wanted to help her Aunt Vivian Vachon, and there was, some good, stuff about this, like, reenactments and everything, because Vivian Vachon was respected as far as a worker as well, legit tough. And then Mad Maxine weighs in. Now, I wondered why I recognized her, but see, obviously, time changes everybody, and I was like, oh, well, obviously the hair would change. If you've seen Mad Maxine, you would know. She weighs in and talks about, Moolah, training with Moolah. I want to say once again, fuck the fabulous Moolah. I'm glad she's dead. I hope she suffered horribly in the last few years of her life for all the bullshit that she did and all the karma caught up to her for everything that she did. All the preying that she did on all those girls that she took under her wing, under the guise of training them to wrestle and everything. And I'm not saying the Moolah was the only one. But as far as being an influential person, all she influenced was a lot of bad habits among a lot of women, because, yeah, there were a lot of women that went there like, okay, Moolah's the person you train with. And what'd Moolah do? Took advantage of him, pimped him out, did a whole bunch of stuff, and more of this stuff has come out. Now, you can check out my review of the Fabulous Moolah Dark Side that I did retroactively last year, because I didn't have a chance to review the first season. But oh boy, let's have some more here. Luna was seen as a babyface at first just because she was a teenager, just the baby face she had, the green eyes, the hair, it was in the 80s, so obviously, the 80s hair and everything, but the, not bouffant hair, but the whole point is she was seen as a baby face, just the way she looked. And then Maxine talked about how, the young lambs, as they were referred to, would go through. Gangrel weighed in, talking about the story. Mad Maxine was great as a talking head here. She wasn't in it long, but she was in it enough to weigh in on and add some backstory to Moolah's, or not Moolah, well, what Moolah did, but also what Luna went through. Gangrel said he heard stories about, oh, you're sleeping with me tonight, honey, Moolah would say, because Moolah would do that. Moolah would traumatize girls by doing that. And not that there's anything wrong with that. You can be however the hell you want, but she took advantage of these girls under the guise of, well, you need to do this. You need to do everything possible. You need to degrade yourself in order to get the chance to be in wrestling. Because sure, Moolah, I don't know who the hell would want to have ever slept with Moolah. A goddamn, only somebody that was maybe bred with a rhinoceros, that was lobotomized at birth, would want to actually mate with Moolah, because Moolah, goddamn. Moolah actually has a daughter, doesn't she? Fucking hell, that's really goddamn scary. That person must have been goddamn drunk. Blackout drunk and everything. Anyway, I'm not going to stop knocking Moolah here. But Gangrel was, he talked about some stories. And then Moolah had Luna go with a guy to the, out west, photographer, and this guy tried to assault her. That's the only word I'm going to say right here. I'm going to choose my words carefully there. She was 16. Now, I don't fucking care who you are. I don't care if you're the worst goddamn person in the world. You don't deserve to have that thing happen to you. Nobody deserves to be assaulted. Man, woman, gay, straight, bi, trans, nothing. Nobody. Nobody deserves to be assaulted. And that was revolting. She fought the guy out because Luna, even at that point, was legit tough. Had the Vachon blood by proxy in her veins and everything. Of course, and obviously, fight or flight, you're going to want to do that. And hopefully, that freaking photographer got the shit beat out of him at one point, and maybe his end ended up as a drooling vegetable, because that's what all assaulters deserve, regardless of who the fuck you are. You assault somebody, you deserve to have the worst fucking things happen. You deserve to have your goddamn kneecaps broken, and you deserve to drag yourself across the goddamn finish line, but never make it, because you don't deserve to live. You don't fucking deserve to live. You're going to take advantage of people like that. Anyway, a woman named Penelope Paradise, who I'm not familiar with, she was a good talking head here, too. How Luna wanted to make it big. And then we go to Championship Wrestling from Florida, which, and this was in 84, 85. This was when Championship Wrestling from Florida, unfortunately, was starting to go down a bit. Now, it was still regionally popular to an extent. Eddie Graham, was it 85? I think it was 85, where he had, unfortunately, committed suicide. And then they tried to continue the territory for a bit, and obviously didn't end up working out because, well, territories are drying up, but also when you lose a patriarch like that, these things happen. And it's also unfortunately tragic that Mike Graham, the son of Eddie Graham, took his life the same way like 25 years later. That's really sad. But Championship Wrestling from Florida. Kevin Sullivan was top heel, and I believe the booker. And he would get people mad and scared. There were people in Tampa that were legit afraid of him. They thought that he was putting curses on them, and then she debuted as a journalist, just an unassuming journalist, and then for whatever reason she got attacked, but then became part of Sullivan's group. I'm not that familiar with this time period in Championship Wrestling from Florida, forgive me. Any historians happen to be watching this, let me know. But she got deep into the character, shaved half her head. I gotta say this, she's one of the only people I think that could have pulled off that look, because she had those wild eyes. Even though green eyes, there was beautiful eyes. Really, really enchanting, but she had that freaking look like, goddamn, what the hell? Like, this woman's freaking insane. And it turns out, in no disrespect, that she actually was dealing with things, like that outside the ring. And it snowed every day in Miami, as one person said, back in the 80s, and that means blow, a lot of cocaine. Fucking hell, a lot of cocaine. I'm actually amazed that the beaches weren't made out of cocaine in Miami in the 80s. How could you possibly take 100 pills a day? Where would you get 100 pills a day? She self-medicated a lot. Obviously, the stuff she went through and everything, and I'm not excusing it. I'm not excusing it at all. Again, that stuff doesn't beat you. You don't beat it. It beats you. But she did go through a whole lot of stuff, and then there was possible inappropriate family relations, maybe. That was never really discussed. If true, considering she was adopted, if true, then I hope whoever is responsible, freaking suffers horribly, because you don't fucking do that. If you take somebody in, you don't do it with your family like Grizzly Smith, because Grizzly Smith, goddamn piece of shit, glad he's rotting in hell. You don't do that if you adopt somebody. You don't fucking do that. You don't take advantage of an unassuming person. You just don't fucking do that. So, Luna, then, it says she was abused by her aunt. Paul doesn't believe it, but he also said he didn't see it. She had schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, manic depression, that kind of stuff. And as somebody that deals with massive depression, anxiety, I will obviously never know to that degree. But the amount of suffering that one person goes through when you get in your own head like that, that's just absolutely sad. It's really, really sad. Best way I can describe it. And, she would shift in moods and stuff like that. She would Angel to Trudy to Luna and everything. She would just go back and forth just on a freaking pendulum. She had an issue with Penelope in a hotel room, and then she'd have to go work with her. Luna was with Dick Slater, and if you read up on Dick Slater, well, let's just say he was a pretty goddamn, noted abuser of women, even though nobody saw this shit happen, she would have bruises on her, and nobody would think that she gave them to herself. And so that basically ended up going away, and I believe Dick Slater died, which, if true, I mean, let's be perfectly honest, like, he's one of many wrestlers that abused women, and, well, hopefully he suffered for what he did. So again, and by the way, we all have skeletons in our goddamn closet, but I'm just going to say the one thing I am definitely, keen on and proud of is I never abused women. Never abused partners. And if you have, you're a goddamn idiot. You don't physically abuse, you don't emotionally abuse. You learn from, situations and everything, but you don't put your hands on somebody when they don't want it, and you don't emotionally abuse them and manipulate them and stuff like that just to get what you want. So anyway, Gangrel and a guy named Tom Nash were the Blackhearts. I believe they were in UWF for a little bit. I recall seeing them at the UWF Blackjack Brawl show that I think was in 1991. That was Beach Brawl. I retro-reviewed a lot of shit last year, forgive me. And they were working with Luna and everything. Luna bit Gangrel and said, well, we were best friends ever since, or whatever. She was the original vampire. And they go in the Indies. Nash and Luna got married, but then he started to suspect that Gangrel and Luna were together, and that led to a falling out. They did end up having a wedding because that divorce happened, and then Gangrel and Luna were married on Halloween, fitting. And Luna goes to WWE. She was trying to get Gangrel signed, for a bit, but then they decided to sign her. She debuted at Mania 9, was in the corner of Shawn Michaels, which is such an oddball pairing. And Sherry was in the corner of Tatanka, which was, again, a really odd pairing. But this is when they had separated Sherry and Shawn. Sherry was on her way out, I believe, because Sherry would be in WCW. The timeline gets a little bit muddy at this point, because Sherry would be in WCW by late 93, early 94? Because I know she was at Bash at the Beach 1994, and I believe she was in the Harlem. Maybe she was in Harlem Heat's corner a little bit later, because I know she was in Flair's corner for a time. But she took down Sherry. And even at that point, Sherry and Luna having a match on Raw, even at King of the Ring 93, would have actually been pretty goddamn good. I would have actually liked to have seen that, a fleshed out story. And at least not King of the Ring 94. How much does this guy weigh, McMahon? And she was the first first woman wrestler on WWF Raw. As far as video game and everything, and that was really cool. Really, really cool. I actually remember playing that, and I remember it being difficult when I was a kid. It was a little bit more complex, which was fine, because video games are supposed to be complex and everything, and frustrate me to the point that I throw down my controller, break it, and quit, because I'm mature like that. But anyway, that was a big deal. She did get to see her kids often. I didn't know she had 2 kids. I'm assuming that either the second kid did not want to participate or the second kid passed away. Some of this stuff got just blown over really goddamn quickly. But it was great to hear from Van Herd. Van Herd just is a great wrestler name. Really is. She was paired with Bam Bam Bigelow, which was a really good pairing. I mean, if you think about, the shaved head and the tattoo on the head, and then the shaved, and then the half shaved, and the veins there, they were perfect. I always thought they were a great pairing. And she didn't get much to do. She didn't get a chance really to do much of anything. There wasn't really a women's roster, according to Medusa. Medusa did have some great insight here. 5 to 6 women. They would bring women from Japan. Bull Nakano, Aja Kong, and those 2. That's really about it. I mean, they would bring other. I think they brought over some women for Survivor Series 94, 95. But the whole point is that they really didn't have a deep women's roster. Luna was all upset when guys would try to be guys. A lot of the guys are really cool, but some of the guys would treat women badly. She's like, my clit is bigger than your dick. Oh, god damn it. Whew, god. Luna, powerful voice, great voice. Medusa wanted to put the belt on Luna, and Luna didn't want to do it because she thought that Medusa would get fired because it would be a title switch in Canada of all places. God, a title switch in Canada that nobody expected. It's a good thing WWE didn't do. Oh wait. And then Luna didn't want to do it, and Medusa was like, but she was good enough, she was more than good enough to be the champion. She deserved that accolade. She bonded with Sherry, Luna did. But this is where the timeline gets a little bit weird, because Sherry was out of the company by 93. Later 93, early 94 at the latest. And so, Gangrel confronted her about, the various pills she took. WWE sent her to rehab, and then they fired her, because of course they fucking did. Don't do drugs for real, that's what her son says. She was very suicidal because of all the stuff she went through, the mental health, the schizophrenia and stuff like that. I'm not excusing it. Please don't take your own life once again. Guys, reach out. Reach out to somebody. Don't talk to me in the comments. Find me on Twitter. I mean, I'm just a person, but come on. Don't do it. Please don't do it. She goes to ECW. She fit in there perfectly. I mean, really, like, if you think Luna Vachon ECW, that's more of a custom-made glove for a hand. And then she faced Stevie Richards in an intergender cage match, easy for me to say, in 1995, and beat him because Stevie Richards, as great as he was, noted crackpot if you read up. So I really don't feel that bad. And Foley teaming with her, she came back to WWE 97, but once again in a supporting role with the artist formerly known as Gold Dust. Feud with Sable. So more audio from Luna. She didn't. She said she told me she didn't have to learn to take bumps because Vince was going to make her the women's champion. She was upset about that. Luna felt slighted. And then Mania 14 mixed tag with Sable and Mark Marrow against Goldust and Luna. And Luna said she was told by Vince, if there's a scratch on her, you will be fired. Whew. And then Foley says, that they were congratulating Sable afterwards and not Luna because Foley was there teaming with Chainsaw Charlie, a.k.a. Terry Funk, who Kevin Dunn didn't think the fans would know, so they dressed him up as Chainsaw Charlie, and then they cheered him because Kevin Dunn's a goddamn piece of shit that never respected wrestling at all, and maybe it's a shame that Kevin Dunn wasn't in that car fire that his dad got the tapes from. Maybe we could have sacrificed that, and then we wouldn't have to put up with the terrible production stuff. Oops, did I say that? Oh, I don't feel bad for saying that. So, let's go back to this feud with Sable. Okay, let me just say right now that yes, Luna had all her issues. I'm not excusing it. She didn't handle them well, but she also didn't have a lot of people helping her. Even though there were people trying to help her, people didn't understand at the time. Nobody understood the mental health thing. Some of that stuff was just starting to bubble. It's not like it is now. It's like every form of entertainment evolves. Every form of thing evolves. It's like the NFL taking care of players more, getting players more money, trying to create a safer cigarette, so to speak, but the whole point is some players are better off than they were 20, 30 years ago. Same with wrestlers. Luna had her self-medicating issues, her schizophrenia and all that. Luna could have been still great for women's wrestling because people were like, oh, well, Sable was, the type of person that they wanted to push. Sable's a valet. Fine. Sable there is a piece of Arby's roast beef, left out in the sun for too goddamn long, which is probably what she fucking looked like without all the nips and tucks and everything. And here's why I'm saying that. Sable wanted to be a television star. That's all she wanted to fucking be. She never wanted to be in wrestling. She never respected wrestling. She tried to take a shot at China during, I believe it was some Canadian talk show thing in 99. Around the time that they were maybe going to talk about having China work with Sable, which would have been a goddamn chore to watch only because China was strong enough to just throw Sable around like crazy, but God forbid they probably would have fired China for damaging Sable because Sable didn't want to get hurt and everything. She got over $1 million goddamn dollars to pose in Playboy. And I'm just going to say right now, Playboy must have been really goddamn desperate at that point. If you find Sable beautiful, that's totally fine. But here's why I don't fucking care for Sable. Sable's gutter trash. That's all she ever will be. All she ever has been. Sure, she's married to Brock. They have 2 kids. Great. They can raise 2, wonderfully, beefy, nipped and tucked kids together. I don't fucking care. I don't care what women do with their goddamn bodies. You can do whatever the fuck you want. But this vapid, stupid, worthless twat thought that she was beneficial to wrestling. She was beneficial as far as being something that, guys could look at and everything. Oh, here's a really hot woman. Because we didn't know what the fuck hot women were back then in wrestling. Sunny, as much as I knock Sunny, and I'm going to continue to knock Sunny because she's been in rehab so many goddamn times. She's been in rehab more times than Terry Funk has been fucking retired. More times than Mick Foley has been retired. More times combined. But here's the old thing. Sunny respected wrestling. Sunny knew what she was supposed to be, who she was supposed to be. She couldn't wrestle. She could cut tremendous promos, be a great personality and everything. And also, you could at least draw your eyes to Sunny and be like, hey, I really want to see her get beat up or I want to see her get humiliated and stuff like that. Slop bucket, all that stuff and everything. But Sunny earned what she got. Sure, she blew it all away and everything, doing drugs and a whole bunch of stuff. But what did Sable do? Sable came up because they thought that Mark Marrow needed a goddamn, valet. Now, Mark Marrow as Johnny B. Bad was pretty good, a pretty good mid-card guy. And while Mark Marrow the person, he's doing motivational speech stuff. I have nothing but respect for Mark Marrow because he at least understood who he was and worked pretty hard. And was an Intercontinental Champion for all of 28 days because Vince McMahon already cooled off on him. They had Sable be a valet, then they wanted to get Sable in the goddamn ring, and Sable thought that she was a great athlete. Now, certainly anybody that gets in the goddamn ring could be legit tough, except for somebody like Sable, because she never wanted to take bumps. Oh, she hurt herself. Oh, she did this. Oh, she didn't want to get hit with the belt. So Luna had to fucking work with her. She had to almost get fired if she put or she was going to get fired if she put a goddamn scratch on her. Which it's not like, that would be the only bump backstage that Sable would have taken to get her goddamn place. And yeah, I'm fucking saying that. $1 million fucking dollars, or over $1 million for women that have bled, sweat, paid the price, broke their bones, beat up their bodies, and I don't know, paid with their goddamn lives. Sable gets over $1 million. Luna gets shafted. Ivory had 300 plus days as champion over a couple reigns and everything, and had to lose to the Fabulous Moolah later that year in 1999. But then Jacqueline. Sable had longer reigns than Jacqueline. Or Jaqueline. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll never unhear that. So Sable gets all this stuff, gets all this push and everything, and then faces off against Luna in, I believe, a strap match, if I recall correctly, at Royal Rumble 99. She ate everybody up, spat him out and everything. Probably, fitting for what she did backstage. And yeah, again, I'll say it again. Sable and the Ultimate Warrior were the same goddamn people. And the fact that so many women just did everything they could to make wrestling successful and make the women viewed better. And Sable, what'd she do? Sure, people could say she took the ball and ran with it. No, she fucking didn't. You know what she fucking did? She was the fantasy of two Vinces, McMahon and Russo. And Russo, I'm not too fucking surprised that Russo would find her attractive, because Russo didn't understand anything about fucking wrestling or anything about women. And fuck Vince Russo, and fuck the fact that he was ever brought into wrestling. But Vince, you would have thought, as far as McMahon, would have known better. But he didn't. The women's division was effectively destroyed when Medusa justifiably took the title and dropped it in the goddamn bin. Dropped it in the goddamn bin at on Nitro, I believe the December 18th, 1995 edition of Nitro. And then they didn't bring back the championship for a few years. And Jacqueline won it, and then I think Sable won it. And then Sable just chewed everybody up and spit them out and everything. He didn't want to take bumps, didn't want to take straps and everything. Oh no, I'm going to get hurt and everything. It ain't ballet, sister. You got paid a whole lot of goddamn money. Way more money than anybody of your talent level ever fucking deserved. She never deserved a goddamn dime from professional wrestling. And that's going to be the end of the Sable rant. But yeah, Sable at least should have known what her place was. And I will say that because, man or woman, when you don't have the talent to succeed, you shouldn't be in professional wrestling. She was an embarrassment to wrestling. And there are people like, oh, she drew big ratings and everything. Yeah, Jim Jones also drew a lot of people to drink his Kool-Aid. And I hate to say it, but Jim Jones was more beneficial because at least more people knew what the fuck they were doing when they went there. They bought into that goddamn shit. Sable, they thought that Sable was good for wrestling. You can think Sable's good for wrestling, but she fucking wasn't. Luna and so many others suffered because Sable was the fixation of two Vinces, that one that knew something about wrestling and one that fucking didn't. So let's finish this up. She had a fight with Sunny. No discussion of mental illness, and that they just thought that's how Luna was. The fight with Sunny was she was like upset and shoved her into a box. Which, to be fair, Sunny rubbed people the wrong way and rubbed Sean the right way. And then he lost his smile. So the feud with Sable continues. Clips of the 2000 Rumble Bikini Contest. More audio. She wanted to succeed. I'm not saying that Luna would have lasted in the company beyond 2001, even if issues had been tamped down and stuff like that, or handled. But Luna could have been a women's champion. Luna could have benefited. They could have grown the women's division. Nope. They just torpedoed it because of Sable. So anyway, after she was released, there was coke written out saying, fuck you, Vince, and she snorted it all. And then various issues and stuff like that. Gangrel ended up divorcing her because they were going to be down the destructive path, and that was going to be it. He felt bad. He felt responsible. She talked to Penelope. Luna had a gun, but Penelope's like, I have kids. I can't do this stuff. It's not that I don't love you. It's not that I don't appreciate you. And then Foley talks about her life outside the ring. The son was in culinary school. He was in Texas. She was in Florida. Never got to meet her granddaughter. Felt like she wasn't good enough. Luna felt like she herself was not good enough to meet her granddaughter, which is sad because she was in her own head. And Foley talked to her a few weeks before her passing. Son finds out after a flight, August 27, 2010. Luna unfortunately passes away. Overdose. Just sad. Really sad. So many wrestlers. So many. Medusa talks about how people in wrestling should have been helped and everything. This stuff should have been taken care of sooner and everything. And she's right in retrospect. Foley was hurt. Read a bit of a eulogy. That's some stuff I'm not going to repeat. That was really good. Comparing Butterfly, Caterpillar, that kind of stuff, and appreciating people for who they are. Really, really emotional stuff. I actually had to pause it at that point. And then Gangrel said he felt guilty. He wasn't there to take care of her because he did love her. He still does. But that it was going to be a destructive marriage. There was no funeral for her. And that Luna, there was audio. Luna wishes she could have changed wrestling more for the women. And she would have loved seeing this product, according to Foley. And people say, oh, Luna probably would have still been wrestling. I mean, no, I don't know if she still would have been wrestling. If things had been able to be addressed and she had been able to be taken care of and everything, drug issues and mental health issues, she could have contributed for another number of years. I think by 2010 she probably would have stopped wrestling just because of how long she'd been wrestling. But in 2010 might even be stretching it. But the whole point is Luna Vachon, very innovative and very, very heartbreaking episode. Let me know. Once again, the National Suicide Hotline will be in the description. So let me know your thoughts on this episode in the comments. Rest in peace, Luna. You'll be missed.